Welcome to the Clubhouse on a Saturday night, thanks to 50upclub.com. And now, here's your host with the most, Glenn Wheeler.
Well, thank you very much, and well done, Dan. Thank you for entertaining us the last couple of hours. Now it's my turn to take us through until midnight tonight here on 2GB 873, and of course stations around Australia and indeed around the world, wherever you may be listening to. It's good to have your company on this Saturday night, the last one, in fact, before Christmas 2013. How exciting, hey? Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 sleeps. You see, you've got to count them up when you're an adult. If you're a kid, you just know that off the top of your head. It's only 4 sleeps. My old man always used to say, you know, as you get older, Christmas comes around a lot faster, and it's kind of not as exciting. And I used to think, you've got issues, Dad, but as you get older, you start to realise that it does come around faster, and it's probably not quite as exciting as it is when you're a kid. But I think it's still fun because it's that time of the year that everyone focuses on getting family and friends together and partying and celebrating and all of that sort of stuff. And let's hope you're doing that. We're certainly going to be doing that tonight, right through until midnight. As a matter of fact, we've got quite a few things happening tonight. We've got, after 8 o'clock, look, we'll do the normal things, 50 Up Club between now and 7. And I've got something in particular that I want to get your input on tonight in relation to violence and alcohol. We'll talk about that in just a tick, but it's obviously been the talk of the town for the last few weeks, and I think in some respects has taken the spotlight off Christmas and all the good positive stuff about Christmas, and it's put Christmas in Sydney anyway in a very negative light. I want to talk to you about that, particularly those of you who can remember, you know, what it was like in days gone by and why things have changed and how things have changed. After 7 o'clock, Janelle Bloom, of course, as she invariably does, will join us, and we'll have a bit of fun with Bloomy as we do on a Saturday night in my kitchen. Now, tonight, given that it is Christmas, and we've only got 4 sleeps until many of you have to, slave it out in the kitchen with the family and friends and all the rest of it on Christmas Day, Janelle's going to have a bunch of tips, great ideas, all that sort of stuff. But, of course, the lines will be open for you to give her a call as well if you've got any last-minute questions and things you're not sure of, 131 873. And then after 8 o'clock, from 8 till midnight, we promised it last week, and tonight we will deliver. We are going to have a Christmas party, and you're invited. Yep. You are most certainly invited. And, in fact, I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek now. We've got a choir coming in. I said last week on the show that I was going to search high and low to find a choir so we could have some real live singing. I know there's carols in the Domain happening tonight. That's a secondary show by comparison to what we're going to bung on after 8 o'clock. So get ready to party with us after 8. And in fact, I'm sitting here in my Christmas attire, to be perfectly honest. That's 100%. If you're watching on the webcam, you'd be able to see that I'm wearing my Santa suit. I've got the Santa hat on, and I'm in full swing. It would seem that I'm not the only one in full swing because the past few weeks have been dominated by all the wrong kind of stuff in terms of headlines. Headlines about people being bashed, king hit, assaulted, alcohol being cited as the reason that people go nuts. And far and away, the ones who, well, appear to be causing the problems are young people. Young people under the age of, well, they're certainly under the age of 30. I'd say they actually are under the age of 25, and probably many of them under the age of 20. There's no doubt that grog is a problem for some people. There are some people who simply just shouldn't touch the stuff because they can't handle it. It's as simple as that. In fact, I think it would be fair to say that there are some who are silly enough before they start, and then when you just add a bit of booze, they get sillier. Then there are the ones who have got that inbuilt aggro button, which when you mix it with a little bit of booze or drugs, or worse, both, it triggers the switch inside their head that makes them want to belt someone for pleasure. Now, how the hell belting someone for pleasure can bring any kind of happiness or satisfaction to another human is beyond belief in my mind. I just can't fathom that at all, especially the unprovoked innocent bystander attacks that we've seen in recent times. And, you know, on and off throughout 2013. I mean, we've seen too many of them, often resulting in the worst kind of tragedy, as was in the case of young Thomas Kelly and others. What a tragic Christmas some families are going to have this year as a result of that kind of violence. But the thing that I don't understand is that I drink grog. I enjoy beer and wine. I'm not really a spirits drinker. I don't mind a whiskey. Actually, I enjoy a whiskey, to be honest. But, my drink of choice when I'm socialising is beer and wine. We had the 2GB Christmas party on Thursday night. I was in full swing, I've got to say. But I'm a lover, not a fighter, when I've had a few drinks. And on the occasions when I've had more than my share, and, may come as a shock to some that I have, but I have. I'm the first to admit that. I actually turn into the harmless drunk that wants to have more fun than normal. I want to laugh more. I want to kiss people. I want to dance. I want to do all the things that are absolutely harmless. Violence is the furthest thing from my mind after I've been drinking. But the thing that I find most annoying, I guess, about the past few weeks and the headlines about alcohol-fuelled violence is twofold. One, it's the fact that there's little or no reference made to the other substance abuse that many of these lunatics are subjecting themselves to as they build up for their rampaging night on the town. And let me tell you, a bloke on ice, with these ice addicts, the serious drug takers, they can have the strength of about 5 or 6 blokes. They turn into absolute monsters. And you've only got to ask any copper. If you know a copper, ask a copper who's had to arrest a person who is affected by ice and some of those really serious hardcore drugs. I watched a bloke last Sunday morning, as a matter of fact, being arrested. He was obviously affected by ice or some other such hardcore drug. He was in the first instance, he was being grappled, I suppose is the way to describe it, by police. Last Sunday morning, it was around 6:30 a.m. in the morning. It was in Darlinghurst. I was walking up to the newsagent at the top of Darlinghurst to get the Sunday papers. Cops pulled up. They obviously wanted this bloke for something. He was a lunatic. I'd seen him 5 minutes before wandering all over the street, College Street, Liverpool Street, then Oxford Street, middle of the road, yahooing, calling out. Cops all arrived. They've grabbed him. It took 5 of them to actually wrestle him to the ground. And I was standing right there watching all of this. 5 of them wrestled him to the ground, handcuffed him, and still, as his arms were handcuffed, and his wrists were handcuffed behind his back, and he laid face down on the footpath, he still kept fighting, kicking, trying to rip his arms apart. He would have ripped his arms out of his shoulder sockets before he ripped his arms apart. Cufflinks champion are made of metal. You can't actually break them. That's the whole idea of them. But he didn't want to know about that. And he was yelling and abusing the cops and carrying on. 5 coppers to get him to the ground. 1 bloke. They eventually pick him up, put him in the back of a paddy wagon, and off he goes. Now, the reality is that bloke will come down off his fix of whatever he's on. He'll be charged with something. We'll find out that he's probably no fixed abode, or he's just some bum on the street on welfare or whatever, and he'll be back out. He's probably back out again tonight. He was probably back out again on Monday night or Tuesday night. Serial pests, these people. But the other thing that annoys me about the alcohol-fuelled violence headlines is that the majority of us, as usual, are having a good time. And that's the truth. The majority of us are actually doing the right thing. At this time of the year, and people refer to it as the silly season, and it is silly because we all go to parties and carry on, have a good time. You look forward to that. You get together with friends, workmates, all that sort of stuff. It hurt nobody. The majority of people, I would go so far as to say, actually go out, have a nice night and get home, safe, in one piece, bar the hangover the next day. But that's self-inflicted and nobody else gets hurt except you. The minority, as usual in life, create dramas for the majority. And here's the rub. I was asking my mother during the week. Now, Mum's 87 years of age. And I asked her during the week, is it really that much different from back in your day? 87, Mum, you're 87, you've lived a lot of life, you've seen a lot. Second World Wars, Dad going off to war, you lived through the Great Depression and all that sort of stuff as a kid. Didn't people still go out at night? You must have gone out and had fun. What did you do? Did people get belted? Did the blokes all get full as a goose and get drunk and fall down and then want to get up and belt each other up? Were there assaults and bashings on the streets back in the 40s, the 50s and the 60s? And Mum said, well, I suppose there were. I can't really remember it, but nothing like it is now. She said, I can't really remember grog being a problem at all, to be perfectly honest. I said, what did you used to do? She said, we'd go to the pictures or we'd go to a dance, and then we'd come home. Simple as that. So what did you do? Here's the question. What did you do for entertainment? Why didn't you have alcohol-fuelled violence on the streets? Now, in our 50 Up Club, those who are 50 up, but probably more importantly those who are 60 up, and maybe even 70 up, dare I say 80 up, what did you do back in the day? Why didn't you have alcohol-fuelled violence on the streets. Should we bring back some of the dance halls that my mother refers to? A dance hall? I can hardly see a dance hall working in 2014, but still, maybe a modern-day version of a dance hall. What was different about the dance halls? They obviously sounded like they were fun. In fact, I remember from ages ago talking to people about, was it Surreyville or Surrey Land or something, some Surrey dance hall that everybody used to go to, but I believe there were a number of dance halls around Sydney. Why was it so different 30, 40, 50 years ago when you went out? And was a night out on the town a big deal? I'm tipping that it probably started much earlier than the kids start these days too, because these days most of the young ones are going out when I'm thinking about coming home. And that's after they've already preloaded, which is the term for either giving yourself plenty of booze before you actually go and hit the town or hitting yourself up with some party drug. That's preloading. It's very common these days. Hit the phones. I want to hear from you on this. What's changed? What was it like back in the day? What did you do for entertainment? And what was different then to now? 131873 is the number. Where did you go? What was the entertainment? And why was it so different? Was alcohol a problem? And I guess the big question, were the streets dangerous like they are in 2013, 2014? 131873 is the number to call. In the meantime, whilst you are going to the phones, let's get ourselves in the mood as we get very close to that big day of the year when hopefully everyone will be lovers and not fighters. Christmas Day, Wednesday.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10. It's glistening once again with candy canes and silver lanes that glow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store, but the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door. A pair of hop-along boots and a pistol that shoots is the wish of Barney and Ben. Dolls that'll talk and will go for a walk is the hope of Janice and Jen. And Mom and Dad can hardly wait for school to start again. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. There's a tree in the Grand Hotel, one in the park as well. It's the sturdy kind that doesn't mind the snow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Soon the bells will start, and the thing that'll make them ring is the carol that you sing right within your heart.
19 minutes after 6, 2GB on a Saturday night. Welcome to the Clubhouse. I'm Glenn Wheeler. Your calls in just a tick. Alcohol, violence. Why and how have things changed over the years? 131873 is the number. Hey, Wal. Mate, would you say you were at the Christmas party on Thursday night? I was a lover, not a fighter.
Well and truly, Glenn. Well and truly.
What a pity it's not television and we could flash up a photo now to show the listeners how I attended the Great Gatsby party. Would you like to describe it for everybody?
It was unusual, outstanding, and very creative.
Well, yeah, and it involved makeup and high heels. Righto, thanks, Wally. Well, for many weeks now, I've been telling you to make sure that pantry is well and truly stocked with Sandhurst fine foods. Easy, delicious Sandhurst. This is the time of the year that you've got to make sure you've got all that good gear in there because Sandhurst are just passionate about making sure that Well, they've got the guests covered every day of the week, 365 days a week, but of course at Christmas time, outstanding. Make sure you've got plenty of great Sandhurst products in the pantry when you go shopping tomorrow, either at your supermarket or at any of the great fruit and veggie shops around town. They all stock Sandhurst. Easy, delicious Sandhurst, wanting you to have a very merry and tasty Christmas. Righto, let's take some calls, 131873, and I'd especially also like to hear from anyone that can throw a little bit of light on the entertainment of a bygone era. Dance halls in particular, because dance halls, to my reckoning, were pretty damn popular, and it was a thing that everybody did. And the Surrey or Surrey Land or the Surrey Hall or something rings a bell in my head, but I can't quite place it or describe it or whatever, because obviously it wasn't around when I was younger. But if anyone can throw some light on the Surrey or whatever the Surrey dancing joint was, give us a call, 131873. Tony's on the line for us. G'day, Tony.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I'm 60 years old and I've got two kids, 30 and 28.
Yep.
And I think our generation's probably got a bit to answer for. I think when we were young, looking back, our generation was probably quite happy to have a dinner party, stay up late, probably with the kids around, and perhaps our kids have seen us drink a little bit more than we should. Well, we've probably consumed a fair bit of alcohol in front of them.
Yep.
So as they grow older, they think that's the cool thing to do or the right thing to do, and I think a lot of them have just perceived that as being normal behaviour. Unfortunately, we all know alcohol is a drug, and unfortunately, when young children have a lot of alcohol, I think at an early age, I think that does long-term damage, and I think they're far more likely to become addicted. That's my theory.
I think, there's a lot in what you're saying, that we as adults certainly live life differently on the social side of things to how maybe our parents did. And I know from my own experience that, there wasn't anywhere near as much grog consumed in the house as there is in our house. Our house is, it's a house in which we enjoy wine at dinner time, and, I enjoy a beer on weekends. I mean, we're not huge drinkers and we don't fall down the stairs drunk every night, but we certainly consume a lot more alcohol, and we have done as the kids have grown up. So they've grown up with it in the house. But at the same time, coupled with that, it has been, I guess, what I would regard as a healthy respect for it too, because they don't see us blind drunk every night, and certainly we don't get, we don't assault each other as parents or even amongst our friends. It's more of a, I accept the fact that alcohol is a drug as well, and people become addicted to it. And I certainly accept, Tony, that we are, we've got to lay some of the blame at our own feet as a generation. But what's changed in relation to the violent side of things? I mean, where does the violence come from? And why was, to my mind and to my mother's recollection during the week, why wasn't there as much violence back in the day?
Yeah, I hear your point about the violence. That it somehow sort of shocks me. I don't know where that's coming from, because certainly when I was young, that sort of extreme violence that we hear about now certainly wasn't commonplace. Truthfully, I have no real theory about that. The only thing I can say is that I remember as a young boy, I went to a pretty tough school. I went to Joey's, and I also remember we always had this view: you better not play up, because if a copper grabs you, copper will sort you out. And I think we have a situation where we basically got the police with cotton wool on their hands, and they can't probably be as tough or as threatening as they used to be. And maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe our police should be a little bit more, we should all allow them to perhaps be a little bit more fatherly, for want of a better word,
Yeah, and also tougher as well. I think that's, you've hit the nail on the head in some respect. Police don't have anywhere near the same sort of powers, and as a result, they don't have the same respect that was prevalent when we were younger. Tony, thank you for your call. Appreciate the input. Let's go to Richard. G'day, Richard.
Hi, Glenn. How are you?
Well, thanks.
Like your earlier caller, I'm in my 60s, but I just thought I'd add to the commentary in that in the 60s, the pubs used to close at 6 o'clock, and then it went to a 10 o'clock closing, and on pubs that had weekend licences, you had to drive 25 miles.
Well, that makes a difference, doesn't it?
I think it made a bit of a difference to what the actions in those days anyhow.
And I think that the other thing too is the fact that, see, I still can't get my head around the fact that pubs need to be open till 3 or 4 in the morning. And there was a while ago when, if you go back a few years, there was an argument at the time that, we need to give the shift workers an opportunity to have a drink because, they knock off at midnight or whatever and then they go and have a beer. That's crap. That's rubbish because it's not the shift workers that are in the pubs and the clubs consuming the grog. It's the young ones.
That's for sure.
A fair income shift worker is going to go home, I would have thought. Maybe you might have a quiet beer before you hop into bed, but, you're not going to be hanging around a pub or a club. Good on you, Richard. Thank you for the call. Hi there, Jane.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yes, I agree with everything that's been said, but there's one point that nobody's sort of mentioning. It's the really, really loud music, because apparently where there's loud music, nobody can talk to each other, obviously, so they're feeling sort of, oh, what do I do? And they drink more, and apparently this is a fact.
It's funny, because... I don't know. Are you 50 plus, Jane?
I certainly am.
Okay, so we're amongst friends here.
Mm-hmm.
It must be an age thing, but I'm finding now that when I go to a function, it can be anything from a ball to a wedding or whatever. If it's loud music and it's dinner time, I just find that absolutely annoying because you're sitting around a table with a whole bunch of people that you could have a great conversation with, but it's impossible to actually hear someone next to you, let alone on the other side.
Oh, it's completely ridiculous. I mean, this is absolute insanity. I mean, I've always hated loud music, and I'll guarantee that all those people who went to those fabulous dance halls and had a wonderful time, they didn't have their eardrums blasted.
Are you old enough, dare I say, to have gone to a dance hall? Did you know about them?
Not really.
No.
Not really. I did go to, not the dance halls that, perhaps my parents' generation would have gone to, but I have experienced the old-fashioned, I did go to a couple of bush dances and I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But seriously, I think the loud music is really an issue, and also a lot of people are going to have problems with their hearing, and we're supposed to only there's supposed to be a limit on that, the loud music, and I think if they enforce that, they might find that people would be calmer for one thing, and maybe not drink as much.
You might be right. The other thing that I'm really going to show my age now, and the fact that I'm out of step with the younger generation, is that I can't understand day clubs. And I often walk up. I've got a young panel operator here who's, in his early 20s, and he's sitting here looking at me at the moment through the glass, just shaking his head in disgust. But I can't understand how you can possibly want to get up at, I don't know, do they get up at 3? Do you get up at 3 in the morning, Jerome, or do you just go to the day club? No, I don't know. I'm going to find out, because apparently they go to these damn things at about, 5 in the morning. The club opens at 5 in the morning, and then they party hard. They get on the grog and the party drugs and all the other stuff that they do.
I've never heard of this before.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, come out with me tonight, Jane. I'll take you to a few.
Oh, I'd love
I know
to
where they are. No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't like to go.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
I'd be cranky.
Good on you. Listen, thanks for calling.
Okay, thank you, bye.
Merry Christmas. 131873 is our number. Let's take another call from Pat. Hi, Pat.
Oh, hi. Glenn?
G'day.
Hi. Well, back in our day, it was the 50s and 60s in those days.
Yeah.
And we went to surf club dances.
Ah, the old surf club dances, yeah. Now.
And dances all over Sydney.
Yeah.
Every night you had a dance, almost. You'd go to Seagars in the city, and it was a lot more fun. But there wasn't drink involved in those days, and hotels closed at 6 o'clock.
So what did you do if there was no drink involved? What did you do? Don't tell me you just tell me you sat around and talked to each other.
I'm not saying we didn't have drink, but we didn't need drink to go to dances. We'd have I live out near DY, so we'd go down into Manly. We'd still have a drink, but you'd have one or two, you'd go to the dance, and that'd be it. There was never any fights. And even my husband said if there was an argument, as you say, with a couple of chaps outside the hotel, they'd have a punch, they'd get up and have a drink together.
Yes, yeah.
Everybody, there was none of that. I'm shocked with what's going on today, I really am.
Well, it's savage. It's not, it's violent, savage violence. I don't get how people can have a nasty streak where they want to actually go out and not just hurt somebody, but, in the back of their mind, they must be in the knowledge that if they hit the person hard enough, they're going to kill them.
That's right, and stomp on somebody's head.
Stomp on somebody's head. I don't hate anybody enough in the world. Even the people I'm not best friends with in the world, I couldn't hit from behind and then stomp on their head.
I couldn't either. But what we found with our grandchildren growing up, if we took them shopping or anything, in the early days, they're now in their 20s, but they'd want to look at these video games that just came out. And my husband would look at those and he'd say, there's a lot of violence in those.
Yep.
And he said, I don't want them to watch that.
No.
So, I mean, we have a say in that.
But you know what? I don't buy the violent in PlayStations. I don't buy that as being a problem. No, not really, because if you go back, we had shows on telly like Zorro and Batman and Robin and, the Cowboys and Indians are Westerns. They rode horses and fired guns.
Yes, you're right.
They still shot people. They tied people up.
And we didn't think anything of that.
No. And as
Indians fighting and putting a spear through something.
No. As a kid growing up, what kid our age, or, my age, I'm 53, what kid our age didn't have a holster with a couple of guns, and occasionally you'd play Cowboys and Indians and all that sort of stuff, and you pum, 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 you get the caps. I used to get Mum to buy me some caps from the toy shop so you could fire the gun.
And then after a few years when our grandchildren were little, you wouldn't buy a child a gun because that was wrong.
Yeah, and yet...
like everything changed.
Everything changed, but I didn't grow up, and my brothers didn't grow up wanting to be members of gun clubs or kill anybody.
No, I know. I know.
So...
Well, whether it's the drugs today, we have drugs in our day. There probably was a bit of marijuana around it.
Marijuana, but see, that was light. By comparison to what's around now,
oh, no.
Marijuana made you silly in the sky, made you laugh, hallucinate. You'd see things through rose-coloured glasses, and then you'd return to Earth.
That's right.
What happens now is that this stuff they take now, it's full of synthetic crap. It's made from, all sorts of junk, rubbish. I've been to that many seminars run by the police where they talk about synthetic drugs, and they say quite openly, if the people who are taking this stuff, the young ones who are buying this stuff on the streets, realised what was in it, then they wouldn't be buying it, but they don't think.
Yes, I really think, though, the places have to close down a bit earlier than drinking all night.
Yeah.
I really do. And if you haven't had enough drink by then, you've had too much.
You're not wrong.
That's the way I see it.
Pat, I can tell you that last night I rang my wife at 6:30. I'd been out for lunch. And lunch started at 12:30. At 5 o'clock we left the restaurant, so you get a fair idea if it was a decent lunch. And I rang Michelle and I said, I'm just going to visit someone else and have a drink for Christmas. And she said, you come home now.
Yeah.
See? I'm under the thumb though, Pat. Anyway, Pat, nice to talk to you.
I say that too.
Good on you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. 26 minutes to 7 o'clock. This is the Clubhouse on a Saturday night. I'm Glenn Wheeler. Good to have your company. More calls in just a tick. The number, 131 873. I'll dob somebody in here because it was Warwick Brook from the Great De Bortley Wine Company whom I was out for lunch with yesterday, and we had a lovely time, but made better for the fact that I think we had a couple of glasses of the fabulous De Bortley wine, and that's what you should be doing over Christmas, because there's never a better time to enjoy a nice glass of vino, responsibly, of course, with family and friends, and why not drink an award-winning wine by an award-winning family winemaker, a proud Australian family winemaker who, as I've been telling you all year, have been making great wine since 1928, and no wonder it's so popular not only in Australia but around the world. To about 90 different countries De Bortley export their wine these days. So if you're still in the shopping mode and you're out to buy some wine for friends and family for Christmas, just go straight to the label that says De Bortley. Yeah, you should be in the 50 Up Club by now. We've been telling you about it. Electricity bills have doubled for many households in the past 7 years, and summer months are often the worst because people want to use air conditioning and the rest of it. That's why you should take up the 50 Up Club electricity offer. Now, there's 17% off your entire bill for 2 years if you pay by direct debit, or 15% off if you pay on time by phone or internet. And there are no exit fees and no lock-in period. All from one of Australia's fastest-growing electricity retailers, Click Energy. Now, a typical four-person household on the regulated tariff could save $490 this year by taking up the offer. So don't spend a cent more than you should on electricity. After all, there are, let's face it, much better things to spend money on, and especially this time of the year. I would rather spend it on myself, being absolutely selfish about it. But look, if you're not a member yet, join now and see the offer at 50 Up Club. That's the words, 50 Up, FIFTYUP Club.com. For more details or to join, just log on at 50upclub.com, or you can call Click Energy on 1300 085 785. Terms and conditions do apply, and as a referrer, 50 Up Club does receive commissions. Plenty of email on this matter, lots of email. One of our emailers saying, with reference to everything that is happening with our 30-year-olds, I'm 50 plus, King hits, loading before going out. I'd like to say it's our leaders who have changed the laws. The Children's Law Court the world over has given the kids rule over the adults. No smacking means no respect for elders, adults and the law. Yeah, you're probably right in terms of the fact that the law is an ass in many respects, and we're certainly not as disciplined as we used to be, and that sends the wrong message to kids, doesn't it? Shane says...